And they went with haste and found Mary and Joseph and the baby lying in a manger. And when they saw it, they made known the saying that had been told them concerning this child. And all who heard it wondered at what the shepherds told them. But Mary treasured up all these things, pondering them in her heart. And the shepherds returned, glorifying and praising God for all they had heard and seen as it had been told them. Well, it's crazy how fast the semester's gone. It goes quick every year, it seems, but it's crazy. And so I was kind of walking around campus, talking to students and anticipating today, a lot of students, which is fun. I'm excited about Christmas Chapel. I often hear from seniors, and just hearing them share how hard it is for this, the last chapel for them. So what I would like us to do, because so many seniors who are leaving right now, here in the next week, graduating, I'd like us to thank them. Would you mind thanking the seniors? Thanks for all that you've contributed and helped and been a part of our campus. And again, over the years, I know this is always a bittersweet time. Christmas, we love it. I love the mall. I love Black Friday. It's crazy, but I do. And all of you sophomores will soon love the musical Oliver, right? Tonight, right? Those of you who haven't signed up, the music Oliver. But we were trying to set this morning up a little bit with talking about Christmas past, a little bit about our own traditions. And I know that's a bit risky because who really wants to hear all about our traditions? But I want to try to share a couple that I think are a little bit interesting. I was brought up Swedish, okay? I don't know if anybody in here is Swedish. Do we have anybody Swedish? A couple, all right. Well, it's a long way from here. So, both my mom, my mother and father, are both Swedish. And so we follow Swedish tradition. Interesting thing, a very big part of Christmas in Sweden is the lights. Lights are a huge thing for Swedish and Christmas traditions. And my father was very much into lights. And so much so that our home did look a little bit like the Griswold home. It really did. I remember as a kid climbing with 6-foot, 7-foot tall crosses with lights on them, having to nail them at the piece of our house. And we had 2 peaks, and every year we had to nail these things in. And I do remember running lights on our roof and stapling to our roof and wondering if this was good for the roof. And I remember running lights along the gutter line and all that, and all the bushes. I mean, it was a really big deal. And you can see our house from a long ways away. But lights were a big part of our family. My parents loved lights, and again, that traces back to Sweden and some of the traditions. One of the big deals for us, though, is always food. And of course, that's right. And Christmas is always about food. And we celebrated our family Christmas Eve, which again is a Swedish tradition. So Christmas Eve, we would have family come over, and we would all sit around the table, and we would just talk and chat. We would eat food. Now, there's some specific foods that connect to the Swedish tradition, and I want to share a little bit about a couple of them, see if you recognize any of them. The first we had was called lutfisk. Anybody know what that is? Somebody's had it. Dried codfish. Yeah, it's rough, but we had lutfisk, all right, dried codfish. We had Swedish ham. We had corned beef. Very good, corned beef and sausage. And once in a while, not all the time, once in a while, we had pickled pig feet. Now, we had American food as well, all right, because some of us kids really weren't into the whole Swedish thing, but we did. One of the other items we had that you may be familiar with was called fruit soup. Have you ever heard of fruit soup? Fruit soup. Prunes, dried apricots, grapes, and raisins. Okay, fruit soup is kind of the end of dinner, if you know what I mean, all right? Better known as a colon blast. Okay? Process that for a minute, but that's what fruit soup. tray, if you will, of rice pudding, and we pass it around. I have 3 brothers, okay, all older than myself, no girls, no sisters in our home. And so we pass this around, and sometimes as we got older, you bring girlfriends over and things. Well, whoever received the almond, right, what that was represented that you would be the next one married, okay? That's a Swedish tradition. And so we're passing this around, and we're all trying to dodge the almond. I mean, and, so we're trying to like eat this in the apartment, we're all trying to dodge the almond. I remember that because it was just a really, really big deal. My family also decorated with what's called dollar horses, and I don't know if you're familiar with those. They are a really neat wooden horse. I did learn that they're actually holy animals, dating back to Viking traditions, which I think is a little bit interesting. So in a sense, our home at Christmas was decorated with pagan objects, but I'm learning that now as I grow older. But and my mom hated Christmas trees that were inconsistent. I think we would go out and get a real tree, and we'd get a real tree 3 or 4 days before Christmas, and we'd have to go out and cut it down. We had a station wagon, and we honestly attached it to the station wagon, and we did that whole Chevy Chase thing. And we brought that Christmas tree home, and we put it and set it up in a bowl and a stand with water, and had to keep water and all that. But my mom really did not like inconsistency in Christmas trees, so you could not put any like personal objects on there that represented something like your first birthday or your favorite athletic team or whatever that you see on Christmas trees today. My mom would have none of that. It had to all be green and red bulbs, and then red apples and Swedish flags. Okay, so our Christmas tree, that's it. And then we had red tulips all around our house. I remember one really memory that I think is kind of humorous, just kind of the last thought of memories. It was our first year of marriage, so obviously older, 1987, my wife and I. Again, part of our family tradition, Christmas Eve, we're with my family in Detroit, and we're celebrating. We go to the Christmas Eve service at 11:30. Being brought up Lutheran, it's very common that you celebrate Christmas Day at the earliest hours of Christmas, and that's why you go to the candlelight service at 11:30 into midnight. So, Swedish, Lutheran, and so we go do that. Well, my wife lived just outside of Chicago in a place called the Region. Okay, yeah, Highland, Indiana is where my wife grew up, and so Patty and I then jump in the car. 1987, no kids, about 25 years ago. And, it's like 1:30. Now, you pick up an hour or so, heading back. And so off we go, and, we're trying to process getting back to her family's house Christmas Day. And, you always hit Kalamazoo, Benton Harbor, and you hit what's called the snow belt in this area. Yeah, and so there's this lake effect snow that comes. And the second we get into Indiana, it looks like Narnia. And so, honestly, this particular Christmas we remember was really icy, really bad. Of course, no cell phones or anything. And so we're driving. We finally get there, 2:33 in the morning. All right, it just took us forever. And so we crashed. Now, that's first Christmas, all right? You're awkward at your in-laws' home, your first Christmas there anyway, okay? You kind of think about that, figure it out. But it's awkward. It's not how they did things when you were dating, you know what I mean? So you go in the home and say, they put you in this room, here's where you guys sleep. Okay, great. And so we go in there, crash, we're spent, but it's awkward. Well, her little brother, little sister comes bouncing in at about 5 in the morning, and they're just all excited. Now they're 12, 11 years old at the time, so they're waking us up, and they're just shaking us. We'd slept like 2 hours. And I'm totally not into this, I'm totally not awake. So anyway, getting up, walk out, well, here's my father-in-law, love him. But we're coming off the top to the second floor of this house, beautiful house with a big staircase that kind of goes down. We get to the top of the stairs, and boom, he hits us with that big bright light and the movie camera. All right, and I have to laugh at the sounding board because a couple of students were talking about how they love when their parents take pictures of them at Christmas. No, you don't. I mean, you can't possibly love the video camera, And so,